Hi everyone. Well, I'm having a good start to the week despite the weather being a little bit miserable and drizzly. So I thought I'd come on and show you my update really and how I'm getting on with this particular pattern. This is called Gracious Era and it's another dimensions project. And I think I've mentioned before, but I really do like dimensions. I found them very sort of confusing at first and very tricky with the multiple strands and mixing floss colours. But I've got used to that, and I think once you get into something and you practice it a little while, you just get better at it naturally. So this is as far as I've got. Now I started this one a couple of weeks ago and I started in the centre of the pattern and worked outwards. I didn't know whether to actually do the back stitch at the very end of the pattern when I'd finished all the stitching, or whether I was going to do the back stitch as I went along. So I thought to myself, well, you know, what the hell, I'll just do it as I go along because it'll make it less of a task when I get to the end of the pattern. But one thing I'll mention, and just in case you decide to do it the same way, if you look at the dress here where you've got this line of red stitches going down, I have back stitched at the very edge of those stitches. Now if I hadn't gone on to do these stitches first, my back stitch would have gone over some of the empty stitches. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're going to back stitch along an edge, you need to make sure that the back stitch covers a stitch and not the fabric. So that's my tip for back stitching. You may have noticed here that I've got a couple of knots, and these are called waist knots. And I'm actually getting into the habit of doing them at the front of the fabric because I'm trying to be conscious of having a neater back. I'm not obsessing about it as such, it's not constantly on my mind. If it's just a simple decision between that knot being at the front and that knot being at the back, I think it makes more sense to have it at the front and work around it and then snip it off later. So yeah, I do understand that, you know, it just takes a little bit of extra time, but it actually makes the needle easier to push through the back when it's not so fuzzy and there isn't so much of a heavy latch rug thing going on at the back of your fabric. So now I have finished this lovely lady here and I just think she looks fantastic. I did do a French knot and I was terrified of doing that because I'm not great with French knots. I thought initially, well, maybe I'll just leave out that French knot and do a bead, but then I was worried that it just wouldn't look right having one bead in the whole design, or maybe she'd look like a panda bear or something. So I just went ahead and did a little knot, and you know, funnily enough, it just came out okay. So I'm not sure whether it looks like she's wearing sunglasses or not, but you know, I'm fine with it. So really all I have to do is some of the back stitch on this guy, but again I have to work some of the outer stitches before I outline him. So this is my progress with Gracious Era, and if you want to see the full picture, here it is. And I've noticed that there's hundreds of French knots. These are all snowflakes and I'm terrified of doing them, and I'll see how I get on when I actually get round to that. Obviously I have to finish the whole design before I get round to doing these French knots. I suppose I will just get more practice as I go along. So let me know what you think, and do you like this pattern? Have you done this pattern? Thanks for watching and I'll see you soon. Take care.